got a Cat 4. It's moving to the north at 12 miles per hour, currently 270 miles south of Apalachicola, Florida. What happens from here? We believe very confidently landfall takes place tomorrow afternoon, maybe into the early evening hours, as a strong Cat 3 with 125 mile per hour winds. If that takes place, there are plenty of 20-year-old young people who live along the Panhandle that have never seen a storm this strong. Now, right now, in the front of everybody's mind is Florence, all the devastation it did. Look at a quick comparison. Michael is going to move much quicker than Florence. Florence crawled. This is a fast-moving storm. It's a one-day event versus a 3 to 4 day event. As far as the winds, they're going to be much stronger. 100 to 115, maybe 125 mile per hour winds. It was 90 for Florence. Storm surge is kind of similar. This one has much less rain, maybe up to a foot. Florence had 3 feet or more in some spots. Jeff, this is a dangerous storm.
Indeed it is, Lonnie. Thank you very much. And the air right now is just thick and heavy here. A lot of that's because of the red tide as we wait for the winds to pick up. Florida residents have been warned about Michael for days now, and they have been preparing. Omar Villafranca is 45 miles southeast of us in Port St. Joe, Florida, where Michael might make landfall.
Passengers on this Royal Caribbean cruise ship felt the power of Michael as the storm strengthened off the coast of Cuba this week. Stateside, ambulances in Madison, Florida are gassing up, ready to respond to the massive Category 3 hurricane churning in the Gulf. Closer to the shore, business and homeowners in the Florida Panhandle rush to fill sandbags and board up windows. Nick Gillum and his family from Kentucky aren't taking any chances and decided to cut their beach trip short.
You know, we got to spend a couple days here, but had to head home.
In Cedar Key, the emergency siren warns residents to leave by 8 p.m. tonight. Hundreds of thousands of people living near the shore have been ordered to evacuate. Motorists lined up at gas stations waiting to fill up. Their main fear is not the wind, but water. The forecast calls for 125 mile per hour winds and a storm surge of 12 feet in some areas. In Tallahassee, Florida, grocery store shelves were picked clean, and beaches that are normally packed were eerily empty. Governor Rick Scott has repeatedly told Floridians to seek higher ground.
But we can rebuild your house. We cannot rebuild your life. So take this seriously.
All right, so Omar, again, is in Port St. Joe tonight. Omar, what are people there worried about most right now?
One of the big concerns, Jeff, is how these beaches will handle that storm surge. There's some very short beaches here, and you can see over here, these homes are built right up on the shoreline. This is a very small buffer area, the last line of defense, and if there's going to be a 12-foot storm surge, these people are worried that their first floor will be swallowed up by the storms. Jeff?
Yeah, Omar, thanks. And one of the reasons all the chairs and everything else has been cleared out for the most part along the beach here, so it could potentially become projectiles when the winds really pick up here tomorrow as we move into major hurricane territory. After a deadly disaster during Hurricane Irma last year, the state did order Florida nursing homes to have backup generators, but we've discovered many still do not. Manuel Bajorquez is 100 miles east of here in the state capital of Tallahassee.
She's not breathing.
That was just one of the 911 calls that came from this nursing home in Hollywood, Florida last year, days after Hurricane Irma knocked out power. The facility did not have a functioning generator. 14 residents died. With Hurricane Michael approaching, Governor Rick Scott warned facilities to avoid a similar tragedy.
If you're responsible for a patient, you're responsible for the patient. Take care of them. That means you need to make sure that you have backup generation power, or you shouldn't be taking care of the patients.
Earlier this year, he signed legislation mandating nursing homes and assisted living facilities to install generators. By June 1st, they were required to have equipment that keeps indoor temperatures below 81 degrees and maintain power for 96 hours after an outage. But in counties threatened by Michael, more than half of 412 facilities did not meet the deadline to install or set up new generators. Most have been granted extensions, including Brookdale Center Point. Is this facility compliant?
We are compliant with the extension.
Brookdale's Alicia Turner says a larger generator will be installed by January. In the meantime, she says this current generator should be enough to keep their 18 residents safe.
And we have a backup generator ready to go and deploy here with the technicians available for when we need it.
You can see they have also boarded up the windows. Facilities like Brookdale must show they can still keep residents safe in order to get an extension. The demand on labor and supplies is part of the problem. The wait for a new generator, which complies with the state law, can go anywhere from 16 to 24 weeks. Jeff?
Important story, Manny. Thanks. We're going to keep watching that one. There was a surprise announcement at the White House today. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations is stepping down after 2 years on the job. Here's Weijia Jiang.
You've been fantastic. You're my friend. And I just, on behalf of the country, I want to thank you for a great job.
President Trump piled on the praise as he announced UN Ambassador Nikki Haley will leave the administration at the end of the year.
She's made it a very glamorous position. She's made it more importantly, a more important position.
The president brushed off questions about the timing of the news less than 1 month before the midterm elections. Haley said she thinks it's time for fresh energy and quickly squashed widespread speculation she's eyeing a presidential bid.
And I will say this, for all of you that are going to ask about 2020, no, I'm not running for 2020.
Mr. Trump said Haley first brought up resigning 6 months ago, but White House officials tell CBS News it was a closely guarded secret, even taking top advisors John Bolton and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo by surprise. The president said he could name a replacement in 2 to 3 weeks and didn't rule out considering someone close to home.
I think Ivanka would be incredible. That doesn't mean I'd pick her because you'd be accused of nepotism.
Ivanka later said she would not replace Haley. Haley's exit marks a total overhaul of Mr. Trump's original foreign policy team.
You are going to see a change in the way we do business.
Haley quickly became a star cabinet member and staunch defender of the president, playing key roles in sanctioning North Korea and pulling the U.S. out of the Iran nuclear deal. Last month, Haley penned an op-ed in the Washington Post, slamming an anonymous colleague who wrote a critical op-ed for the New York Times. Haley said, "I don't agree with the president on everything. When there is a disagreement, I pick up the phone and call him or meet with him in person."
Haley's announcement has set off a frenzied guessing game about why she is leaving now. Some point to a new development yesterday when a watchdog group called for an investigation into Haley's use of private jets. There are also rumors that she's returning to South Carolina, where she was formerly governor, to replace Senator Lindsey Graham if he takes a cabinet position in the administration. And finally, Haley told the president she's returning to the private sector. So, Jeff, it's possible she wants to make some money.
Okay, Weijia Jiang, thank you very much. In Council Bluffs, Iowa tonight. Before the hurricane brought us here to Florida, we had planned to come to you tonight from Arizona to kick off a special series of broadcasts from battleground states in the run-up to the midterm elections. A tight race in Arizona could help determine control of the U.S. Senate. We did visit the state yesterday to talk to the two candidates vying for the seat now held by Jeff Flake.
I'm not real fond of either of them.
Two Arizona voters, one a Republican, one a Democrat. There's one thing they and many people we spoke to in Arizona agree on. The race to replace departing Senator Jeff Flake has gotten ugly.
While we were in harm's way in uniform, Kyrsten Sinema was protesting us in a pink tutu.
I'm disgusted by all of it. There was a time we were all ladies and gentlemen.
Was there?
Yeah.
Okay. It is between Democrat Kyrsten Sinema, a three-term congresswoman who voted 62% of the time with the president's party rather than her own.
Every one of us understands how important this election is.
And Republican Congresswoman Martha McSally, a former Air Force combat pilot and one-time Trump critic who has lately fully embraced the commander-in-chief.
When you're flying airplanes, the airplane doesn't care if you're a girl or a boy. They just care if you fly well and you shoot straight.
never before have Arizonans sent a woman to the U.S. Senate. Our latest poll shows the candidates separated by just 3 points. That's within the margin of error. This is also interesting. 1/3 of Arizona voters say they'll be making choices based on local issues, but about 2/3 will be voting on national issues.
And the difference couldn't be more clear.
There are differences over immigration, tax reform, and perhaps most significantly, health care.
I went without health insurance for a time in my own childhood when my family was struggling with poverty, and so I understand how important it is.
Who pays for the health care?
Well, right now, Arizonans are paying, and they're paying too much.
A key issue is coverage for the nearly 3 million Arizonans with pre-existing conditions. In Congress, Sinema voted to keep that coverage under Obamacare. McSally voted to repeal, but says she still wants to cover those with pre-existing conditions.
Should insurance companies be required to provide affordable coverage for people with pre-existing conditions?
Absolutely. We need to move towards a system that provides more choice so that the cost comes down. The Obamacare experiment has failed.
Hi, we're local volunteers with the Arizona Republican Party.
Both sides have been urging voters to turn out. If Sinema succeeds, she'll be the first Democrat elected to the Senate here in 30 years. Perhaps because Arizona is still so red, that is not a selling point for her.
I think Arizonans don't care whether the person who's serving in office has an R or a D behind their name. What they do care about is who's going to get stuff done and who's serving their interests.
That sounds like somebody who's not trying to run as a Democrat. So, look, her party is going so far left right now and are so far out of the mainstream of Arizona values. But the bottom line is she's a Democrat.
Next week, we're going to take you to the battleground state of Missouri. Two-term Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill is facing a tough challenge from the state attorney general, Republican Josh Hawley. Again, we'll be there next week. Coming up next here on the CBS Evening News tonight, what is behind a baffling rise in cases of a rare illness similar to polio?
Your brain changes as you get older, but Prevagen helps your brain with an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, healthier brain, better life.
I wanted more from my COPD medicine. That's why I've got the power of 1, 2, 3 medicines with Trelegy, the only FDA-approved 3-in-1 COPD treatment.
Trelegy, the power of 1, 2, 3. Trelegy, 1, 2, 3. Trelegy.
With Trelegy and the power of 1, 2, 3, I'm breathing better. Trelegy works 3 ways: to open airways, keep them open, and reduce inflammation for 24 hours of better breathing.
Trelegy won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Trelegy is not for asthma. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it. Do not take Trelegy more than prescribed. Trelegy may increase your risk of thrush, pneumonia, and osteoporosis. Call your doctor if worsened breathing, chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain occur.
Think your COPD medicine is doing enough? Maybe you should think again. Ask your doctor about once daily Trelegy and the power of 1, 2, 3.
Trelegy, 1, 2, 3.
Save at Trelegy.com.
You're headed down the highway when the guy in front slams on his brakes out of nowhere. You do too, but not in time. Hey, no big deal. You got a good record, and Liberty Mutual won't hold a grudge by raising your rates over one mistake. You hear that, Karen? Liberty Mutual doesn't hold grudges. How mature of them.
For drivers with accident forgiveness, Liberty Mutual won't raise their rates because of their first accident. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Smile, Dad.
I take medication for high blood pressure and cholesterol, but they may not be enough to protect my heart.
Adding Bayer aspirin can further reduce the risk of another heart attack.
Because my second chance matters.
Be sure to talk to your doctor before you begin an aspirin regimen.
There are 3 new cases of a rare illness with symptoms similar to polio. The patients are being treated in Pittsburgh tonight. This follows an unusual rise this year in the cases of acute flaccid myelitis in a number of states. Dr. John LaPook is following.
The rare, poorly understood polio-like illness attacks the body's nervous system. The CDC says there have been 38 confirmed cases this year through the end of September. 14 cases have been found in Colorado and 6 in Minnesota. Most of them have occurred in children. Elaine and Michael Young said after a fever in July, their now 4-year-old Orville had trouble moving his right arm. Doctors found a clue to what was wrong from an MRI scan.
And the results come back that he had an abnormality through his entire spinal cord.
Orville was diagnosed with acute flaccid myelitis, or AFM, and spent 6 days in the hospital. At his worst, Orville was unable to move the upper part of his right arm and had trouble moving his legs and sitting up.
I just felt so sad for him that this thing that we didn't know about and we couldn't protect him from had happened and had taken a lot away from him.
Symptoms include sudden onset of arm or leg weakness, difficulty moving facial muscles, slurred speech, and trouble swallowing. One possible cause is an immune reaction to an infection called enterovirus, which can be spread by coughing or sneezing. But to put this in perspective, Jeff, the highest number of reported cases of acute flaccid myelitis in 2016 was only 149.
All right, good perspective, John. Thank you very much. Still ahead here tonight, Justice Kavanaugh takes the bench.
This place isn't for me.
That last place was pretty nice.
I don't like this whole thing.
I think we can do better. Change is hard. Try to keep open mind. Come on, Dad.
This is for me, son?
Principal, we can help you plan for that.
This is not a video game. This is not a screensaver. This is the destruction of a cancer cell by the body's own immune system, thanks to medicine that didn't exist until now. And today can save your life.
New Alka-Seltzer Plus Power Max Gels. Concentrated power, 25% smaller pill. Max your cold relief with Alka-Seltzer Plus.
If it feels like you live in the bathroom with recurring constipation and belly pain, talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Yes, Linzess treats adults with IBS with constipation or chronic constipation. Linzess can help relieve your belly pain and lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements. Linzess is not a laxative. It helps you get ahead of your recurring constipation. Do not give Linzess to children less than 6, and it should not be given to children 6 to less than 18. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. So say yes to help for recurring constipation, yes to help for belly pain. Talk to your doctor and say yes, Linzess.
There's a lot to love about Medicare. Also a lot to know. Like it doesn't pay for everything.
Yep, you're on the hook for the rest.
So consider an AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company. The only plans of their kind endorsed by AARP. A plan like this helps pay some of what Medicare doesn't, so you could end up paying less. Call United Healthcare Insurance Company today for your free decision guide.
Make a smart choice. Replace one meal or snack a day with Glucerna, made with Carb Steady to help manage blood sugar and end the day with a smile. Glucerna, everyday progress.
The Supreme Court is back at full strength. Justice Brett Kavanaugh took his seat today alongside Elena Kagan. And as his wife and daughters watched, Kavanaugh asked a number of questions in a case about increased sentences for repeat offenders. Fingers of blame are being pointed in several directions after the limousine crash that killed 20 people in upstate New York on Saturday. Relatives of the deceased driver said today they believe the car was unsafe. The governor has said the same. But in an interview with CBS News, a lawyer representing the limo company said all safety issues had been corrected. He told the Albany Times-Union the driver may have misjudged the intersection. The nominations are in for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, class of 2019. DEVO, an early MTV staple, is among 6 first-time nominees. That includes Todd Rundgren, Roxy Music, and 80s metal band Def Leppard, as well as Stevie Nicks, already inducted with Fleetwood Mac. 9 others return to the ballot. It is Janet Jackson's 3rd nomination and rapper LL Cool J's 5th.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. I'm rocking my pants.
The winners will be announced in December. When we come back here tonight, how a Super Bowl champion scored a big win for some forgotten young adults.
I'm not made for this. That's Jake's worry monster. I was thrilled when he had his health scare, but now he runs and drinks Palm, and nothing I say makes him worry anymore. Watch. Jake, don't run too hard. You're gonna chafe. You'll chafe. Cripes, is that my pulse?
Dear foremothers, your society was led by a woman who governed thousands, commanded armies, yielded to no one. When I found you in my DNA, I learned where my strength comes from. My name is Courtney McKinney, and this is my Ancestry DNA story.
Now, with 2 times more geographic detail than other DNA tests. Order your kit at AncestryDNA.com.
With Advil Liquid Gels, you'll ask, what stiff joints? What bad back? Advil is relief that's fast, strength that lasts. You'll ask, what pain? With Advil Liquid Gels.
Overwhelming air fresheners can send you running. So try Febreze One with no aerosols and no heavy perfumes, so you can spray and stay. Febreze One.
Which is the only egg good enough for my family? Only Eggland's Best. With more farm-fresh taste, more vitamins, and 25% less saturated fat, only Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Stop fearing your alarm clock with new ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with melatonin that supports your natural sleep cycle, so you can seize the morning. New ZzzQuil Pure Z's.
This is Stonington, Maine, a town where almost half the population is self-employed.
Lobster fishermen is the lifeblood of this town.
By 2030, half of America may take after Stonington, self-employed and without employer benefits.
We haven't had any sort of benefit plans, and we're trying to figure that out now.
If I'd had a little advice back then, I'd be in a different boat today, for sure.
Plan your financial life with Prudential. Bring your challenges.
If you use some of these moves way too often, then you might have a common condition called dry mouth, which can be brought on by many things, like medication and medical conditions. Biotene provides immediate, long-lasting relief from dry mouth symptoms. It is clinically proven to soothe and moisturize a dry mouth. Plus, it freshens breath. Biotene, immediate and long-lasting dry mouth symptom relief.
What does it take to make digital transformation actually happen? It takes Dell Technologies, a family of 7 technology leaders working behind the scenes to make the impossible reality. We're helping to give cars the power to read your mind from anywhere. And we're helping up to 40% of the nation's donated blood supply to be redirected to the people that need it most. Magic can't make digital transformation happen, but we can.
Coaching means making tough choices.
Jim, you're in.
But when you have high blood pressure and need cold medicine that works fast, the choice is simple. Coracetin HBP is the #1 brand that gives powerful cold symptom relief without raising your blood pressure. Coracetin HBP.
Have you spoken with your mom or dad today? A reminder from Companions and Homemakers, providing home care for the elderly for over 27 years, because home is possible.
We end here tonight with a Hall of Fame quarterback still drawing up winning plays along with his wife. Carter Evans shares their story.
Winning a Super Bowl may seem like a crowning achievement, but to Kurt Warner and his wife Brenda, it was just the beginning.
Now our goal is, okay, how do we continue to impact people?
Over the years, they've contributed millions to help those most in need. Their latest effort inspired by their oldest child, Zach, who's developmentally disabled and legally blind.
And he was thriving in high school, and you're like, man, this is awesome. He's exceeding all expectations. And then all of a sudden he graduates from high school, and boom, everything stops.
It was sad to see that there aren't a lot of options, especially for the higher functioning people with disabilities.
The Warners found no place in Arizona where their adult son could live on his own. So they built one and called it Treasure House.
Does anyone else want potatoes?
It recently opened, not just for Zach, but 5 other residents, and plans to take in at least 20 more.
Here we pick up some of the twigs in these bushes.
We want all of our other kids to spread their wings and fly. Why doesn't Zach deserve the opportunity to do the same?
Yeah. Treasure House also offers job training, but above all, a sense of community and independence.
Here's a place where they can grow and they can thrive and they can chase after their dreams. We believe it can be life-changing for thousands and thousands of families.
You think you could duplicate this all over the country?
We do.
You know, you've had tremendous success in your career. Where does this fit in?
People are going to forget that I won a Super Bowl, but they're never going to forget the kind of impact you have on them personally.
I think that this will be our legacy more than a Hall of Fame.
For the Warners, few victories are as sweet as this.
I love you, dude.
Carter Evans, CBS News, Glendale, Arizona.
Love you.
That's great. And that is the CBS Evening News tonight. I'm Jeff Glore in Panama City Beach, Florida. Our hurricane coverage continues tomorrow on CBS This Morning and tomorrow on the CBS Evening News.
After 20 years of protecting investments for families, my boys will tell you, I'm kind of a penny pincher. Turn off the lights, guys. I stood up to the mayor of Hartford to reduce wasteful spending, help close a $50 million budget deficit, and eliminated the city council slush fund.
There's nothing in there.
There's still some left. I'm Sean Wooden, and I approve this message because I'll make smart investments to maximize returns while investing in the right priorities for Connecticut.
Introducing the all-new Early Warning Weather Tracker on Eyewitness News.
Stretch limo death investigation. What's it like to be packed inside a limo with 17 passengers?
Come to a dead stop, what happens?
Oh, everybody would go flying all over the place.
And how they really build a stretch limo.
This vehicle has crash bars 1, 2, 3.
Then, Ambassador Ivanka? Could first daughter Ivanka Trump take over as the new ambassador to the UN?
Ivanka's been just a great friend.
Plus, the greatest love story of all time? Not anymore. Their love story was turned into a movie.
You know who I am, right?
Exclusive. They're breaking up.
The vow has come to an end.
Then, accused dog thief. She's just 11 years old. She's so in love with this dog, cops say she stole it from the neighbor's house. And we are in the eye wall. Not wanted. Is the Weather Channel star really being warned to stay out of the hurricane zone? Then, former child star Justine Bateman fires back after being trolled over her looks. Now, Inside Edition with Deborah Norville.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. The search for answers in that fatal limousine crash continues as memorials take place and funerals are planned for the innocents who lost their lives. We do know that the driver was not licensed to operate that limo, and the car itself, according to the governor of New York, failed an inspection just last month. But what was it like for those passengers in the limousine? Here's Les Trent.
What was it really like inside the doomed stretch limo? It's a tight squeeze as 17 passengers filled this limo to capacity, the same number as the limo in upstate New York that crashed.
We've got 17 people here.
Yeah, we're pretty full.
Eddie Fahmy is a former limo company owner.
Everybody's hip to hip, very tight in the chairs. Nobody has seatbelts on. So again, this is very dangerous.
And as we're driving, you feel the bouncing of the car?
Oh, absolutely, and we're not even moving too fast. Imagine doing 50, 60 miles an hour, how uncomfortable you'd feel.
The limo was mostly intact after the crash, yet everyone inside was killed. How is this possible?
If we came to a dead stop right now, it would be a bad situation. The people in the back row would come flying up somewhere about here. Everybody in this half of the limo would get flying into that partition. Who knows if they'd go through the partition, some might end up through the windshield.
The limo, which was a modified 2001 Ford Excursion, had failed inspection last month. One reason, malfunctioning brakes. Steve and Fabian showed the inspection report to Dave Lipsky, who repairs stretch limousines at his garage